Our sponsors this season are Dobie and Rollins Orthodontics. Excellence, excitement, and empathy, helping you love your smile. The Curly Hair Salon by Luvena Leslie, specializing in treating your curly hair with the love and care that it needs. Forever TV, the Establishment Enterprises music artist and author of 90 Days to God. They are the winning souls who are winning souls. Track Major Studios, your go-to source for music production, website design, digital promo, and more. And Rojan Miller, licensed realtor and property investor, handling all your real estate needs from buying, selling, investing, and more.
All right, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Freestyle Gospel, aka The Real Frii, with another episode of Free Lunch. And here we are on location at the awesome Milford Photo, where you know that awesome guy from Photography Tip Tuesdays, my buddy Eddie Daniels from Pure Orleans Photography, and myself. We've spent some time here. My father spent some time here, spending some money. We actually spent some money today here by total accident. We didn't even intend to, but Milford Photo is the place to go where, you know, not only for your photography and camera needs, but like even those little things like when you forgot a memory card. So I have here today the owner, Jesse. Thank you so much, Jesse, for being here and having us here.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Absolutely. You really kind of didn't have a choice to be here. So
I think I
thank
did.
you for having us.
I'm the one that I have the key to the building. So
So Milford Photo is some where I've, you know, frequent as a younger man with my father. My father has been a photographer for over 30 years. So that was my first introduction to Milford Photo. How long has Milford Photo, at least this place, this building, let's just focus on this building here.
Sure.
How long has this place been here?
So this building, of course, is Old Bank. It's been here 120 years, something like that.
Notice the bank vault door behind us.
It's a beaut. Make me an offer and get it out of here. So Milford Photo was incorporated in 1995. There's two owners, and Jim Wilson, he's my partner and principal owner. And, you know, he came and he had the vision and the drive, and I came along with him. He's the strategist, the financier, and the push, and I'm the guy that I like to think I'm the guy that gets everything done. You know, it's sort of the ground level. And that was 25 years ago. We moved into this building back in 2001. And it was always, you know, our goal to get into this building because it's just such a landmark in downtown. We're big believers in small business in a downtown environment.
And what's the other owner's name?
So Jim Wilson,
Jim.
He, you know, when you talk about ownership, we got to mention Jimmy because he's been.
So Jim is Jim not like really like the camera person? Like is
no, he is the.
Is he camera shy?
He's camera shy, and he's golfing, I think, right now, out of state. He's a family out of state, so I'm sort of the PR guy anyway. I've done the classes and all of the events here by and large, and so I think he knows that I'm more comfortable in front of the microphone than him.
So before 1995, and you kind of Jim having like this the passion, the vision, right, and then you coming alongside him, did you and Jim know each other?
Absolutely. So
before that?
Absolutely. And there is backstory. I mean, there was a Milford camera in downtown Milford for what was about 49 years. Jim worked there about 24 years, myself 17. So we worked together in that environment. And, there was drama, and Jim was forced out to, you know, start his own business. And it took a lot of chutzpah. But he started another camera store in downtown Milford, and you know, we have thrived and prospered, you know, since 1995 and that incorporation. So Jim and I have been together for 40 some odd years.
Is this your first like major entrepreneurial like sort of venture, Milford Photo?
Yeah, certainly. This is pretty much all that I've done. I'd say since high school, but since 8th grade, and so.
Really?
Absolutely.
Okay. So you never had like any, you know, a lot of us who've arrived as adults, like at our, whatever we do for business as an entrepreneur, we've had like several ventures along the way. Were there any other just like major interests that you even toyed with the idea of like starting a business out of that interest or that talent of yours?
Well, I think the way that I would incorporate that or regurgitate that question would be that as a small business, we have many small businesses inside of it. And the decisions have been over the years, which of those to pursue or those to let go. For instance, we have a custom framing department, and there's a staff with that, and there's all the accoutrement that goes with it, and all the materials. So there's that, for instance, and it's been well, but some things over the years haven't worked out, and you have to be able to cut those loose.
Can you give us one of those things that haven't worked out?
Sure, photo studio. We tried to do sort of family portraits.
Out of here, or
it's a funky layout here. It's an old building with lots of little areas.
Cutout room.
Well, there's a big old room downstairs, which now is the custom framing room, which was once the photo studio. But we found that between the staff that we had and how it conflicted with many of the other things that were actually going on in the store, it just didn't prove to work.
A lot of the other, entrepreneurs that we either consult with or we do other interviews, they talk about this struggle of having like those other ideas and kind of not knowing when to stop or pivot from an idea, right? And so I've heard someone tell me, I haven't looked it up to, fact check it, but someone said a quote Albert Einstein was, "Genius is knowing when to stop." That really took me back, because when you think about it, especially for creative minds, right? We can be so huge in our vision idea, it could be so macro that we end up never actually being successful in anything because we're so gifted, so many ideas. What was that like for? Because you mentioned the photo studio. It sounds like you had to kind of mitigate those things along the way.
Well, that's a great quote, and he certainly could have said that you need to know when to stop spending. You do have to be careful. I see a lot of small business people that they're just so in love with an idea that maybe they're not as clear-eyed about how it's going to work, and you need to be able to try and set everything up the right way. But even then, if it's not working, then you have to take a step back and sort of subsume whatever love you had for that particular project and say, okay, well, maybe it's not me right now. That's going to work. And you would have thought that a photo studio would be a home run for a photo store, but it didn't work. And there aren't too many photo stores around, and none of them that are in my area, in my state,
they're not.
Have any kind of facility.
As far as I know, Eddie, correct me if I'm wrong. Outside of Milford Photo around here, we got to go all the way to New York or B&H or your Amazon. I heard people here inside the store. I'm not going to say any names, but do you guys have a certain aversion against Amazon?
Well,
obviously, for the obvious revenue reasons, right? We're in the business of making money here. But, a lot of people say, it's, for me at least, the benefit of coming to a physical shop place, right, versus Amazon is, one, I could actually touch and feel, sort of test out and experience the equipment in a very real way. And then two, you have all the professionals here that you could actually consult with, people who are in the field, who've maybe used similar equipment. You could actually ask questions on Amazon or on any website for that matter. Just shopping online requires you to do a lot of research on your own, just whether you're now switching browser windows and Googling and trying to see, does this work in this scenario, when right here at Milford Photo, you actually have experts you could talk to.
So we've been doing this a long time. And first we were challenged with mini labs. When do you put in a mini lab? Or when do you stop giving someone else money to process film? So we make the investment, bring in the mini lab. Then come, of course, the whole digital revolution with the cameras. How does that impact? And I will tell you, it was an expensive changeover from analog to digital in all the processing machines. But you're in this thing, and then come the digital cameras and the phones, actually. And so that's a huge challenge. So certainly Amazon's a challenge. And I think what you mean is, if people are coming in, are they shopping me to then go and purchase off of Amazon?
Do you guys do price match?
Well, listen, hey,
I saw on Amazon, this is 30.
Happily, in our industry, we're pretty chill with all that. I don't have any trouble. People come in, they ask, I can say yes or no. And
everywhere else I go, everyone does price match except for Amazon. That's where everywhere else that's where I've heard.
well, listen, in our
But
industry,
that makes sense. I mean, if I was a store, I wouldn't. Amazon would be on my no list. Like, no, don't come here with your Amazon price.
well, listen, in our industry, much of it's pretty regulated too. So there isn't a lot of that
Wiggle room, yeah.
chicanery that's going on.
It's 20% off at B&H, Best Buy. It's probably 20% off. It's like one of the manufacturer deals.
That's exactly correct. And I've told my folks, and everybody's on board with, somebody comes into the store and they're asking about this stuff, they're probably going to buy it from us. They've made the effort to get into downtown. They've come from wherever.
Yeah.
We draw from so far away in all directions except that way, which is Long Island Sound. People make the effort to get here. They're gonna be spending here.
Now, so Jesse, tell me. I know like a lot of this journey has been like sort of coupled with Jim and his story, but for the role, at least the part that you played in the infancy of growing a business, starting a business, right? Let alone growing it, but just starting a business and then growing it. What role did family for you play in it? I see a ring on you. You're married?
I am.
Okay. Were you married at the beginning of this venture? Okay.
No. And
so was that, I mean, for you at the point where you then became married, right? And had to juggle, I guess, the things that come with, running a business and then, family life. Was that a significant transition for you? Like, kind of being the single entrepreneur guy where you probably could burn more money freely without having to give an account for it, or,
no, because the commitment was made. I mean, we're not going to go flake off and do something else.
Yeah.
I mean, this is.
I wish I could have said that my business was established before my wife met me. But yeah, I had to kind of negotiate with.
It's such a time.
Negotiating is time consuming. I hate it. Why can't I just burn this money because I think it's a great idea?
I'm here to talk. If there's anything you want to.
Yes, Jesse. Talk to these.
It sounds like you need somebody to talk to. I got it.
No, but a lot of our entrepreneurs that who listen to the show, they're married, men and women. They're juggling that family, and when it comes to building a business, you said better stated. Albert Einstein's quote is, geniuses might be knowing when to stop spending money. But I think every entrepreneur understands who's been successful that it costs money to make money, right? So what's one of your formulas, at least, taking that in mind, of how to properly kind of quell that instead of just going, all right, I got to spend money to make money. Like what's the thing that keeps you sober headed?
I think that whenever you get into a different direction in your business, for us, it's pursuing a different line of income within the business, is to see how other successful people have done it. I mean, become part of a group of folks that can help you. And if you're not right across the street from them, chances are they'll open up and tell you, obviously you have a business plan. You got your finances all figured out.
Don't be across the street from them, Dom.
Yeah.
That's too close.
Yes, no, not the Starbucks. But you've done all that planning, of course. But I think communication with other people in the field is definitely something to dive deep into and find out what has worked for them and try to emulate it.
Now, you just brought something else to my mind. You're just talking about like kind of connecting with other people in the field. Looking on, I don't know if it was Milford Photo's social media page or the website, but I had no idea that you guys do many of the workshops that I saw. Whether is it through Eventbrite or another platform?
We've used Meetup.
Meetup, yes,
Yeah.
that's the one.
Yeah.
So I've used Meetup in the past. So that was like, pretty cool to find out. From that you guys offer. Workshops. Now, what are some of the workshops that is it like Milford Photo hosts like here or
absolutely. But you can't use the business name in Meetup, or when we began this, they bumped us off when we called it the Milford Photo Group. But yeah, it absolutely is. We're lucky to be here in Milford. We've got the shore. We've got pretty areas where we can go and photograph.
Yeah.
And so some are just workshops, walk around. Some are for pay when we get a model. There's been quite a bit of Zoom, certainly, before COVID. you had so much more in person.
Absolutely.
That way. And I'll tell you too, that's a business or a service in transition, because so many of the people that used to take it were beginning photographers, and I'm seeing less of them. The people that I'm seeing are people buying another camera, moving to the mirrorless, from something else. And so the how would you say the pitch of those kinds of events has changed. And so I see less people like I do in the store, but they're more motivated.
Do you find that a lot of people that are coming in, I mean, you said there's less, but the ones that are coming in still trying to get into photography, is it mainly people trying to get into it for the sake of business, or sort of just,
I do think we have quite a bit of those. I know I've done a few personal lessons in the last week with people who are looking to make a bit of an endeavor out of it and wanting to learn the photo chops side of it.
Yeah.
Maybe they've got themselves they feel they've got a good business sense about them, but they don't know photography. And even if they're going to try and manage people, they need to know certain aspects about that.
What do you think is the best piece of advice for knowing when you're good at something, right? And many of our creative listeners, they're good at many things. What's a rule of thumb you think is good to go by to know when to take something you're good at and decide to turn it into a business? Because many times I've heard other people say, just because you're good at something doesn't mean you should make a business out of it. But then there's other people who think, well, the direct opposite. Actually, if you're really great at something, you should turn it into a business, and it'll be easy or easier to make money because you're good at it.
Well, I think that let me address just that customer base maybe that thinks, I love photography and I feel I'm pretty good at it. And
make it a business.
I should make it a business. You have to understand that once you take money from someone, that relationship changes. They're no longer your friend or acquaintance. Now they're a client, and they're going to want things delivered a certain way, which you have to.
How come they can't be my friend anymore, Jesse?
Well, maybe they're your friend after a couple of jobs, things like that. But you got to treat them as with a little more respect and a different level of respect. I talked myself into a corner.
I mean, do you think...
they can become friends, and many of my longtime clients are my friends. Ivan here, he was my friend before he became my general manager.
Okay.
But there's a difference. That's all I want to say.
I think friends want freebies. That's the problem.
There's no doubt about that.
You're trying to have a business.
Oh, boy. And let me tell you, anyone who's out there working as a photographer knows that the freebies, they're never ending with the hands out about the freebies.
Never. The biggest... For me, it's always been one of the things, I have, one of our assistant producers here at the show, Eddie, he, has his own business, does photography, video, the whole bit. And I think, us being two creative people, the way I've found us, sort of the happy medium between, kind of juggling or keeping rather friendships in the presence of business is being able to have a sort of a mutual respect and appreciation for the other person's craft. Like if you genuinely believe that the friend or other relationship you have is someone of integrity, they're really great at what they do, and you could benefit somehow from that talent of theirs, right? I think it naturally causes you to do the right thing, whether that's fiscally, whether it's monetary, or many times, Eddie and I, it's like a barter or anything. Hey, like I'm great at this. And, this is what I do for business. I know this is what you do. Hey, let's have an exchange, so to speak.
Well, I think doing the right thing, no matter what business you're in, that's usually the harder thing. And so that's probably what you need to do. I mean, there have been many times when like returns or whatever the case might be. I'm looking at Ivan right now. We had a couple. You do what you have to do to keep people satisfied, and that sometimes that can hurt you a little bit in terms of the pocket. But our ethos has always been that in the long run it will work out for us.
So is it your opinion, Jesse? Like, do you follow this idea that the customer is always right?
They are always right. And we look in the mirror and always say that, and we say that, and we say that. But
hold on.
They should also be willing to take a little bit of advice. And so,
did you guys catch that? Customer's always right, but the customer should be able to take a little advice. I love that.
Yeah.
I've never
Do you
heard
like that? Well, there you go. I just made it up. sitting
Because
here right
I
now.
just off the cuff bars. Customers just know how to take a little advice. That's it.
And listen,
You can be right. We'll let you be right in the end. Just be right with this little bit.
I think that by and large, people are great. And you have
That's
to
how
believe that
that's how I believe.
in service, right? You have to have that faith.
Yes,
in
that
other
faith in
people
other people.
and
That most
that's-
people are kind-hearted and mean well, and I leave it up to you to prove me wrong.
Absolutely. I'm lucky that I've always been selling cameras, which generally is something that people want and not need. And there's a big difference
Yes.
when you sell stuff that people
Yeah.
want.
True. We're
Especially
not trying to
lately.
sell, black paint to the White House. So yeah, generally people want that. Well, I know one of the biggest, just hurdles for me in sort of just the creative space in general, no matter what it is, I think it applies to you, other people who are listening, is, sort of finding time outside of, the thing I'm passionate about, which is, me doing this, acting, podcasting, and making time for the people that really matter the most in my life. So the customers, we love the customers, we love the fans, they matter. The people that matter most to us are those who are there to sort of lick our wounds from the long day. Eat a meal with us at our dinner table at home. How do you find the time? Like, what's your time management? That's secret. Let's say to running the business, have its time, and then knowing when, whether it's like a certain day regimen you follow, like making sure I have time for my family while I'm growing the business.
Well, my family is small, and so there's only 3 of us. And
Yeah.
at this point, my son is older and moving off to college.
Mm-hmm.
So, and my wife works full time. So we're busy people, and there's been sacrifices. My hours are pretty benign, I think, for retail. I'm home for dinner. And I don't have to get up at the crack to be here.
Yeah.
Usually, but yeah, I've worked every weekend of my life, and so we missed that. And while you try to make some time for that kind of experience, but you have to realize that there's going to be a loss, I guess, in some way, a sacrifice that you have to make. Especially when it's your own business. At least then, when it is your own business, you can look back and say, yeah, okay, I busted my hump all those weekends or whatever the case might be. But I'm still here. I'm still here.
You worked every weekend?
Well, pretty much. We used to be open Saturday and Sunday for a number of years there, and then
You guys are
just
closed
the
Sunday now,
Saturdays.
right?
We are closed Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah, which is great.
So is that a time that, if maybe not your kid going off to college, but at least your wife expects to spend that Sunday or the whole day with you?
She's got plenty of stuff for me to do.
Oh, okay. Sundays is
how that breaks
your
down.
chore list.
Yeah,
Day.
Not always. If she hears this, she's going to say, "Oh, I don't give him nearly enough."
Okay.
But no. Hey, I like to think I've been there more than I have not.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
certainly, right?
Yeah,
Being
yeah.
a freelance videographer
Yeah,
or
yeah.
photographer, boy, oh boy, you're working when everybody else is having a good time, which is
Yes.
the way I always
Yes,
looked at that.
absolutely.
And that was a hard thing when I was doing it.
I know for this year will be 7 years for my wife and I.
Congratulations.
We just had our newest edition will be 1 year old next month. So we have we're a blended family. So I have 3 kids from my previous marriage, and then my wife, when we got married, she had a child already, and then now we have 1 together. So all together that gives us 5.
Wow.
So we have 5 kids. So we make that mix of family of 7. We have 1 in college, 3 teenagers, and then the baby, the 1 year.
Goodness.
So it's really, really busy. I think, one of the things I've tried to sort of set in motion early on in our marriage to sort of, have that healthy balance to the grind, very necessary to growing a business, especially in its infancy, very necessary to grind and work a 60, 70, 80-hour work week, is having a day that my family knows to expect me home and present. And when I say present, I don't just mean that physically, right? A lot of times we can be present physically with our families, but not present in mind. So my wife and I, we try to make Tuesday evenings. Tuesday evenings in our home has been date night for the last like 5 years straight.
You've
missed
got
a
to
Tuesday.
compartmentalize. I guess is that
Yeah.
buzzword, and to be able to put aside, and that's not always easy. And
No.
and I'm not always successful on it. There are some days, man, that you just you go home and you think, man, I should have just made a living pouring beer in a cup or something like that. But no,
Exactly, no.
get up and do the thing next day.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's funny because you said it's not easy keeping that, but we really had it tested with this our newest edition, the pregnancy with our daughter, Goddess, the 1-year-old next month. She had to spend 50 days in the hospital, my wife, leading up to the birth. And I didn't, she already had to miss out on major family. We had one of our kids graduate. She missed the graduation being in the hospital. So that was already very emotional on top of just all the complications with the pregnancy. And so I made it a point to try to still keep Tuesday evenings date night. And so, I'd set the two, younger teenagers up at home, made sure that they were all taken care of with dinner, and, they'd see dad, walking out the door to go meet up with mom at the hospital, Tuesday evening. And so, and they were very, sort of, bland, they weren't with all the, glitz and glam, you know what I mean? I sat on the, chair by her bedside, and, sometimes just rubbed her forehead. And that's what date night looked like for 50 days, or, that time. And I think many times, when we have these big visions, they're not only for those who carry big visions in business. I've heard it said, the way you do one thing is the way you do all things, right? So usually, if we have these big ideas in our business, we usually have a big idea, this grand idea of what we want our family to look like. And the problem is trying to make peace with both of those, right? Because you can't have room for two huge, humongous things. And many times with our families, if the vision we have, if we don't see a way where we can like walk that out, we can kind of get disenchanted and kind of throw in a towel and say, oh, what the heck? It's not worth it anyway.
Yeah,
we can't do this anyway. So why bother doing anything at all? And that's the mistake.
Well, I mean, once you've begun it, it's very hard, I think, to stop it. And I look at it from a point of view of having doing the same thing for so long. When you're a kid, and by kid, I'm going to go the 20s.
Yeah.
Thereabout. Everything's easier. It might not seem it, of course, but looking back, it was so much easier. Your feet didn't hurt as much, and it was easier to stay up a little later and get up the next day and do it. You can't do that stuff anymore. And so hopefully you're in a position where the business is at a place where the limitations or challenges that having a family and advanced age and things like that becomes something that it can run itself in that regard. You always got to keep an eye on it, but it can run itself in that regard while all this life happens all around it there.
Yeah.
So you had your hands full, man.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Listen, we're gonna get ready to transition for our next segment where Ivan is gonna help us out with like decluttering our really small bag, way too small for all the equipment we travel with. But before we transition to that piece, I just want to give you an opportunity on our show, Free Lunch, Free Food for the Soul. We have every episode, we have the guests share with the audience, the listener, something that could be edifying for the soul. Like, what's the takeaway that you want the audience to like leave with, knowing the type of audience we have, it being, entrepreneurs trying to juggle family, trying to juggle knowing when to take the leap with their passion, with their gift. What's something, edifying for the soul you want to leave the people with?
Well, you had mentioned that in a lot of ways you're a faith-based guy, and I have to stand back and look at myself and say, well, where is my idea of something higher?
Yeah,
and I'm gonna go, and I think that this job career has shown me that essentially people are good, and that I've been very lucky. I love my customers and my work staff. I mean, yes, there are always challenges, but if anything, all the people that I've worked with over the years, rarely have I met a really bad person. And, you know, by and large, I think that would be the message that I take away. Talk, trust, and, you know, act with the idea that, you know, people are essentially good. and you have to accept that. And when challenged by it, continue to accept it.
And I would add on to that, you know, I think it's true that people for the majority are essentially good. I think we see a difference manifested when good people become hurt. And then, like the saying goes, hurt people hurt people.
Fair enough.
So thank you so much, Jesse, for spending time with us.
Well, thank you for this opportunity.
And now let's crack our knuckles.
Time to buy stuff.
And let's get our man, Ivan. All right, Ivan. So I dumped out my very tiny bag all onto your table here in hopes that we can make it more organized into just one bag. Actually, we have here a collection of like 3 of my bags. So, you know, obviously I want, you know, I want some storage spaces for like my little things like batteries. Yep. You know, I got, you know, everybody's got these kind of batteries, extra Canon batteries, trigger button thingies, even my like mobile power bank, my AC adapter, my sling. We got the Sennheiser MKE 600 shotgun mic. We got the RP, the R8, some lenses, some lights. So you think you could help us out with that?
Absolutely.
All right. So we have a bag picked out already.
Yeah.
So let's see what we got over here.